So while we're in the middle of this, welcome to the Splatoon Showdown Series Rainmaker Finals, powered by Nintendo and Battlefy. Like we said before, it's the Rainmaker Finals where you have to junk a giant fish into the enemy team's base to win the game. It's one of the most faster-paced and volatile modes. Stay tuned. There's a lot of prizes on the line. In particular, first place prize wins a signed poster from the developers themselves, saying that you are a Rainmaker finalist and that you have won the Rainmaker finals. You can go to the Twitter of Nintendo of America and you can see the photo of the developers holding the poster themselves. There's lots of cool swag to give away. Other than that, if people win the first two third place prizes. Today, I myself am CryptikSpoon, and I'm also joined by Bleck and Hitzel.
Hi.
Hello. Did that out of order, but close enough.
I wasn't going alphabetical. This is my personal preference.
I just mean you introduced us one way, and then we said hi the opposite way.
Oh yeah. You should have predicted that better.
How dare you?
Sorry. Next time I'll go into the future and remember how this is done.
It's how we do. It's how we do.
So yeah, guys, let's talk about some more Arowana Rainmaker. So another thing I just want to point out in particular on this map is that you're going to see usually at the start of games, one person always go up to the enemy team's hallway. It's usually one of the fastest ways to flank and get a couple of wipes. Mm-hmm. Most people are aware that people will do this, but they still don't cover it regardless. It seems to be something that people just always tend to forget or just don't think about, and it always ends up in a vital situation for the enemy team on an opening push. So hopefully both teams, I mean, we're in the top four, both teams understand that's really, really important, and both teams will come to try and fight for a duel in that area.
Definitely. I think in this map in particular, teams very heavily focus just going straight down the middle for pushes. And kind of like what you're saying, getting control, especially of the enemies closed, is a perfectly valid way of getting through. It's a bit slower, and you're not able to get quite as many points as quickly, but it is a very safe pathway, assuming that the enemy charger is not also in that hallway with you. But usually, if you're able to take out the charger, or they don't have a charger, just pushing through is a great way of getting a very safe push and getting a lot of points on the board quickly and easily.
It looks like the stream went down, so potentially we might have seen the Leviathan be given the win, just because I know the hosts of the lobby DC'd, so I think there might be something to do with that in the rules. But either way, while we're talking about Arowana, I think that what you guys were talking about as far as control of the closed areas and stuff like that, a really kind of good philosophy that I think to kind of taking closed control is that if you have someone in a position that stops a flank ahead of time, you can't get flanked. You know what I mean? So if you have your sniper kind of up in your sniper spot doing, sniper things, and you have that kind of like back flank that's always kind of like a pest, like a really pestering situation for snipers, because in order for you to get up to snipe, you have to walk up this grate, and then if someone flanks you, you can't do anything. But if you have someone at your own close putting up pressure in the middle of the map, two things happen. First off, you're not giving up pressure to stop yourself from getting flanked, because that person in your close blocks the long pathway it takes for you, the sniper, to get flanked. And if your friend at close does die, you have plenty of time to recognize, okay, my friend died at close, now I should move somewhere else so that the flank isn't going to hurt me. And if you kind of think a couple steps ahead like that when it comes to kind of controlling flanks through kind of like putting pressure on like the area before the flank, if that makes sense, you can definitely kind of stop your team from falling apart from one person just kind of getting behind on Arowana and making everything go nuclear, because that map is so hard to deal with once there's someone behind you. If you can kind of plan ahead and give yourself time to, be able to adapt to those kind of situations, I think that's the best way to handle it. Because otherwise you could commit too many people to deal with something like that.
So just a quick update, guys. Synergy has beaten Hanran 2-0, so Synergy will be in the finals. They have guaranteed themselves either for sure the second place prize. What's online for second place and what they have guaranteed to have won right now is a Splatoon series amiibo figure. That will be the one amiibo figure, not the 3-pack. That's only for the first place prize. You win a Squid Pin Ajax Pacific Splatoon plush and Ajax Pacific Splatoon Squid collectible figure. So Congratulations to Synergy for winning that in the Rainmaker Finals, arguably the best mode in Splatoon. And I'm glad to be watching it with you guys today.
And what's on the line for Hanran for third place?
So third place. So if you get fourth place, you win nothing. So you better be fighting for that third place, guys. So third place will win a squid pin. They will win a Jack-specific Splatoon plush and a Jack-specific Splatoon squid collectible figure. This applies to the 4 players who are playing in the tournament.
And word from on high is that this match will still be going on. Leviathan has not won it through host DCs just yet, but it does seem like there's still some connection difficulties going around. Not quite able to get into that lobby just yet.
Slightly unfortunate. Do you know if we would perhaps have a streamer from Leviathan at all, just in case? Gotcha. All right. So depending on what happens, we're probably just going to head right into the Synergy match, and I'm assuming watching Resbit after this match is done. But for now, let's maybe we should talk about the other map.
Third place potentially.
Well, depending on who wins and
Right.
who doesn't win, I don't think we'll have any streams.
Yeah, we'll have to go right to the grand final.
Yep. And let's just say that we go through this. Savages does take Arowana Mall. Let's talk a little bit about Rainmaker on Flounder Heights.
Yes,
Sure.
we have some time.
So Rainmaker on Flounder is one of those weird maps where it starts out as a sniper being at an incredibly huge disadvantage at the beginning of the game. They don't really provide much of anything at the beginning of the game. You kind of have to rely on your frontliners to get a lot of the kills, a lot of the map coverage. But once you can get that map coverage and you get that top mid control, the sniper will control the entire rest of that game. It is so hard to push up. If you get one Carbon Roller and one E-Leader on your team and they both know what they're doing, it is a disgusting game.
Oh yeah, Carbon Roller is so good on Flounder, and even different types of Carbon Roller builds. I mean, it has a really just easy time painting the walls with the new changed burst bombs. It can one-shot kill people on those kind of like narrow platforms that kind of like line the top of the map. It's really good at wall sharking. And at the same time as well, it has a special that can kind of hit anyone from anywhere. And if you run some bomb range, you can actually put a hurting on the enemy team sniper. Some bomb range burst bombs can actually hit snipers in places where they can't hit you or other weapons otherwise can't. So it can definitely create some openings both on offense and on defense, because when trying to push back into the center of the map, you can kind of force a sniper back and allow your team to kind of break that like iron lockdown. And then when you're in control as well, you can stop the enemy sniper from counter sniping your sniper by just like putting splash damage where he wants to stand.
Yep. Another thing I like to point out is that the Rainmaker pop is very, very important on this map as well. It decides who gets that zone control first, and a lot of people who can get that mid control right away is usually the people who end up winning the game. That fight for mid is almost the most important part of that entire game. Everything else decides what happens after that mid battle.
Yeah, and like kind of one of the things that makes the map so unique compared to a lot of other maps is, yes, there are maps where there's a top middle structure that's kind of like a tall structure or whatever, but Flounder Heights is unique in having the middle of the map not only be a tall structure, but spanning the entire horizontal section of the map. It's a huge structure. It's bigger than all the bases. It's taller than all the bases. It's more complicated than all the bases. So control of that area is very, very unique, because there's a lot of vertical combat that goes down, and as we all know, if you're swimming up a wall, you can't shoot. So it can be kind of difficult to take the top of the map unless you kind of sneak past kind of like unopposed. And because of that uniqueness of the map is why you see it being so important to kind of take mid control and don't let it go.
So Hitzel, since we have a little bit of downtime, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? What team do you play for? What kind of weapons do you play?
Okay, cool. So I'm Hitzel. I'm a streamer. I have a YouTube, although YouTube's not as active as my stream. I used to be a Halo player, and I used to be an MLG moderator way back in the day, back when Halo was kind of like the more popular, first-person shooter esport. And I've kind of taken my kind of Halo support player style and kind of applied it to some of the weapons in Splatoon. So what I'm pretty much known for is using bomb range and a support style in this game. So I kind of have these weapons that are good at close range, when I, get into like a normal combat. But outside of like normal combat, my neutral game is kind of dominated by me taking sub weapons that do immediate damage or some kind of immediate effect, and just kind of chucking them across the map. I kind of take the kind of Halo support style of just like guerrilla tactics at long range and just putting damage on players and making it easier for my team to do stuff and harder for the enemy team to do stuff because they're suppressed and weak. And I'm just applying that to the sub weapons of Splatoon. Of course, burst bombs and disruptors are what I'm known for doing it with. It's a really fun style and it's really unique. And I'm a little bit proud to say that I think that a lot of people try doing it, but I guess I'm just so much more practiced with everyone else at throwing these bombs and actually getting like really nice predicts and precision hits across the map that a lot of people will try it and like give up on it. So maybe I'm not like that amazing at it, but just because I'm so ahead of the curve that I can kind of uniquely do it kind of feels nice because I can kind of like force my own part of the meta game and kind of like force strategies and provide like different ways to approach maps that like kind of only I can provide, which is pretty cool. I play for right now Strange Approach. It's not really my team. It's kind of some members from Komodo, a team that broke up, and some other teams that I've been on before in the past. And we've kind of come together with just the goal of getting in good practice and doing well and kind of finding ways to improve constantly. And we've been doing pretty decent. Out of the 8 qualifiers that you need 4th or better to qualify for, we came in 5th 5 times. So maybe not at the very top of the at the rankings right now, but we're pretty consistently getting there. And we're also kind of proud to say that all 4 of us are going to be going to Don't Park on the Grass, which is the second big North American Splatoon LAN, and we're actually have our starting roster is going to be there, so we won't need to make any subs or combine with any teams. All the practice that we've done so far is going to go directly into a really important Splatoon LAN.
Well, nice, man. I'm very happy for you. If anyone also wants to know, Hitzel does run a Twitch stream at his own channel where he does have something called Coffee with Hitzel, where he has coffee and plays the Splatoon game. It's very entertaining. Very cool guy. So Blake, tell us about yourself. What kind of weapons you play? What do you do? The rundown.
Sure. So about 16 months ago, essentially at the birth of competitive Splatoon, a weapon was released called the Heavy Splatling. And at the very first moment that I saw the victory animation of you hugging that Splatling in the sheer amount of joy and dancing around, I found my calling. And I've never looked back since. Since that day, I have been a heavy Splatling main. More recently branching out to the Hydra and the Minis. But deep in my heart, my love is for heavies. And I have played them almost exclusively ever since. Occasionally branching out into other weapons, but always coming home to my heavies. I played for originally the now disbanded team CQC back in the early days. We were a bunch of nobodies. But Spoon and I both originated from there before later forming into what we are now known as today as Cute. A bunch of guys coming together, having fun, and just being cute. Outside of that, I run a tournament, also with Spoon, that airs every Thursday. And it's been a weekly tournament that we've had a lot of success and fun with. And aside from that, as far as the community goes, I like sitting behind the scenes and keeping things moving and just kind of being behind. So like, for instance, this is the first time I've ever actually interacted in the Splatoon Showdown series finals cast, even though I've been a part of all 4 of them now, just sitting behind the scenes, making sure things are going smoothly.
Great. So I'm CryptikSpoon. As you can tell, me and Blake basically do everything. We're a duo team, so I help run the tournament with him. I also cast a bunch of events as well. Not only that, I play for Team Cute and the captain of Team Cute. I also play a lot of splatter scopes, e-leaders. I'm very much a charger. I've recently been getting into a little bit more Splattershot Pro, but I am nowhere near a competitive level at that. I definitely play a lot of scopes and e-leaders, way more on the defensive side. And yeah, like I said, you can follow me. I stream regularly, help give some tips, have some fun with people. I stream at CryptikSpoon. I also have my Twitter, twitter.com/CryptikSpoon, where we do live updates of our tournament regularly, when what's happening, who are good players, some great highlights. It's all good fun, guys. So yeah, if everyone likes the Splatoon Showdown series, you guys should definitely look into other community events that we run around the scene. So yeah. So it looks like the game started, and Tooney has decided to not stream after multiple connection issues. So we're just going to give you some updates after that, and then we're going to go right, I believe, into the grand finals.
Yeah, just immediately in the grand finals. Yep. That would be...
Because right now it's 1-1 for Leviathan and the Savages.
Cool. All right, so looks like I guess Arowana Mall went into Savage's favor. Well, I guess it would have had to. And then we're going to go into Flounder Heights. Flounder Heights, of course, a map that can end pretty quickly if you get control of top mid and you get a really, really strong lockdown. You're going to be able to make a really good push. And I think that kind of makes, while we're waiting for me to bring up a topic about how like this game kind of works and scores. If you're new to Splatoon, as opposed to the way a lot of other shooters score, which team wins and which team loses, there's typically some kind of objective, and if you do things to the objective, whether it be capture a flag or stand in a location or plant some kind of explosive or just get kills on enemy players, you kind of have like a static score that goes up. You do the thing, you get the score, add it up, reach the score limit, you win. This game, on the other hand, is actually pretty unique in the fact that there is still an objective to go for, but as you push this objective, you get like kind of like a distance or some other kind of measurement to how good you're doing, how close you get the Rainmaker to the enemy base, how long you can control the zone uncontested for one amount of time. And instead of you just constantly adding to a score, the game records your best single score. So it'll record your best distance of taking the Rainmaker to the enemy base, your best single period of time where you can control the zone, and if you reach the score limit, you just win. If you don't reach the score limit, when the game ends, whoever has the best single score wins. So instead of trying to slowly build up an advantage over time, in Splatoon, what you want to do is gain advantages by getting kills and getting map control, and then convert that advantage into a really good executed push. So instead of like getting a second of time in the zone here, a second of time there, you want to have like this really big lockdown where your sniper's in the perfect position, you have your flanks covered and stuff to just kind of dominate the map long enough to get a single winning score. And from there, once you have the advantage, you can kind of shift back onto the defensive, although doing so can be risky. So it's kind of a cool way to think about the objective game type in a shooter, because it's definitely a type of scoring that hasn't been around before. So you can have, like we were talking about on Flounder Heights, you get the sniper in the right spot, and all of a sudden that sniper is a huge asset to your team instead of a liability. And playing for that big push with or without specials is how you typically see these matches take place. So instead of just vying for control of the objective without much more thought except for just doing the objective, you see these kind of like more thought out executed plays where you actually have to like sit down and plan, okay, when we get an advantage, how do we convert this into points? How do we convert this into a good lead?
I definitely agree with that. Also, Splatoon is one of the very few games where just shooting helps your team. It's one of the few things where you don't need to just get killed. Paint is very important. Having control of your area so you can swim better, so you're not restricted, is a lot of importance compared to any other game that you would have with movement. Movement is like one of the largest priorities entirely in this game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because of the paint mechanic, it kind of almost like replaces some mechanics of other shooters. Because typically shooters you can usually break down to the kind of combat mechanics that players have, movement and shooting, etc. And then you can also break the game down into the environment and how that environment causes players to make decisions that lead into combat. And the cool thing about Splatoon is it kind of like mixes that all together. Whereas in other games, you have like, I can move like this with press these buttons to do these movement actions, and I can pick up this weapon on the map at this spot or whatever, or I can stand in this spot or whatever. Everything kind of becomes a blur in Splatoon, because the areas that you can control on the map and areas that you want to move on the map, you want to paint. You want to be able to paint so that you can move. So all of a sudden, controlling areas of the map means that your paint is there, which means that you can move more there. So all of a sudden, map control and movement are tied together. And then when it comes to other games where there's like a a shotgun to pick up over here or a grenade launcher to pick up over here. We want to control these areas because of that. In Splatoon, when you paint, you get meter. So if the enemy team starts to take over part of the map, you taking part of the map, be like, okay, I'm going to control this left side of the map that the enemy team used to control. Doing that gives you meter towards your special. So you're still like picking up resources. You're not physically walking over there and picking up a static object that has like a big sign on it like this is an asset, you know what I mean? But the game kind of naturally lends itself to that because by using these painting mechanics that tie directly into movement, you're also directly tying into giving yourself resources. So it's really cool how this game pretty much took the basics of shooting and one button to cover the aspects of map control, movement, wall running, jumping, stealth, reloading, health recovery, strafing back and forth in battle. All of these like mechanics that are usually like complex high level things in shooters are all handled by 2 buttons, which is just absolutely insane and like a really good sign of good game design.
So another thing that I like to say is that we almost every single competitive player does play with motion controls, which is one of the very few things that like no shooter does, that we all use, and we feel is one of the most vital points to this game as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, one thing I do want to say that before we kind of talk into comparing console shooters and keyboard and mouse and stuff like that, I think that there's a lot to be said by understanding that console games take place in a bubble and PC games take place in a bubble, you know what I mean? So just because the mouse is really precise compared to a controller doesn't mean that that game's better, because being good with a controller versus being good with a keyboard and mouse versus other people using the same instrument that you are means different things, and it means, different flavors of the first-person shooter genre, and they're both really interesting. The thing about Splatoon, though, is that it kind of, whatever you think of PC games and console games when it comes to the shooter genre, Splatoon kind of takes that precision that you find in a PC game and introduces it to a console game. So for the first time, a lot of console shooter players and just a lot of console game players in general are now all of a sudden able to play a shooter that has the precision or almost the precision of a keyboard and mouse game. That means that a lot of the concepts of how moving and shooting works and how difficult you can make it for your enemy to hit you while you move, all of a sudden that balance changes. Whereas in traditional console games, you have to make movement kind of slow, because if you make movement too fast, it's too hard to aim. All of a sudden in this game, you can make movement really fast, and players aim. The aim of players isn't held back by the limitations of the controller, which leads to like the really like cool back and forth movement that you see in Splatoon. Whereas like if you tried playing this on like an Xbox controller, you probably wouldn't be able to hit anything, and it wouldn't be as fun. But all of a sudden, that balance is just nailed. And one of the reasons that this is such a unique console game with its movement and such is because it gives players the precision to keep up with a faster pace of play, which is really, really cool.
Yeah,